Ein Katega Nasa Senego. This is a very interesting topic that starts in Rosh Hashanah. It's not Rosh Hashanah yet, but it develops in many, many sugyas in Shas. So in Rosh Hashanah Daf Chavav, Kol HaShoifros Ksherim Chutz Mishal Poro B'pnei Shu Keren. Omer Rabbi Yossi Kol HaShoifros Nikru Keren Sheneben B'Shoicha Keren HaYovel. So the Gemara suggests another reason why Rosh Hashanah you can't blow a shofar shel Poro. K'diyomer Rav Chisda Mipnei Ma ein kohen gadol nechnes bebigdei zov lefnai velefnim l'aved avoda. So the kohen gadol, when he goes lefnai velefnim once a year in Kodesh HaKodeshim with the Ktoris lechaper al bnei Yisrael, goes with bigdei lavan. Why not bigdei zohav lechoved veletiforas? Bigdei zohav are the most important and beautiful begodim of the kohen, because ein katego nasa snego, and the bigdei zohav are reminiscent of the egel hazohav. And when the kohen gadol goes lefnai velefnim lechaper al bnei Yisrael, and that is the ultimate kapora, ein katego nasa selego, which means the prosecutor can't represent the defendant. Which side are you on? Are you going against or you're going for? Ein katego nasa snego. And in modern Hebrew, the prosecutor is the kategor. And the one representing the defendant who's supposed to fight for him is the sanegor. And you can't be on both sides. And that is why the kohen gadol lefnai velefnim can't wear bigdei zohav. And Rav Chisda says that's the same reason you can't blow a shofar shel Poro, because the egel is the same species as the Poro, and a keren shel Poro brings to mind the chet ha'egel, and the shofar comes lechaper al bnei Yisrael. Kodesh Baruch Hu oile mekisei adin v'yoshev al kisei rachamim tikka lefona b'shofar shel kadei shezkor lachem ele shel Yitzchok, and that is why ein katego nasa snega. And the Gemara has a discussion. So the oren the kapoides lefnai velefnim are zov. The oren is zov, the kapoides is zov, and that is lefnai velefnim. So the Gemara says only the avoida, that's the oider kapora, is the concept of ein katego nasa snega, but the oren is not the avoida, and therefore there's no kpeda on the oren. Ared de Rabbonon. Ared de Rabbonon is a very fascinating sefer, and to me it has very special sentimental value because it's one of the first forum that I bought as a young boy before my bar mitzvah. I was fascinated by the Ared de Rabbonon, so I still have my personal sefer with a very childish signature. I probably was 11 when I bought that sefer, and it's from the Mahari Al-Ghazi in alphabetical order, on concepts, on sugyas, very short. Ein katego nasa snega beperek ro bezdem yalef lo mide azrach mona shlo yekoles kohen gadol bebigdei zohav nere de have dvar toiro. So the Ared de Rabbonon, this is typical, a very short paragraph. Ein katego nasa snega is min ha'toiro, because we learn it from kohen gadol shein nechnes bebigdei zohav lefnai velefnim. Mitzvah habo ba'aveira ein odem yoytze. And that is a sugi a few paces in Shas. The Yerushalmi has an interesting moshel in Daf Yud Beis Masechet Sukkah. Omer Rav Levi, Zeh shonoit lulav hagozo lamao doima leechot shekibed es hashilton tamchi v'nimtze mishaloi. Amru, oy eloi lezeh shenasa sanagero kateguro. So the Melech, the king, made a party. It's his birthday, it's his anniversary. I don't know what the event was, but he made a party and everybody brought gifts. And a person brings a gift to the Melech that he stole from the king's room. So the cameras saw him coming into the king's office, and he stole an object. And then 15 minutes later, he brings a gift, a stolen object that he stole from the king's office. And that is, you have the chutzpah to steal from me and then pretend that you're bringing me a gift. So the Yerushalmi says, Lulav Agazul, and the entire concept of mitzvah b'avera is the same idea. Ein keteger nasas nega. When you come to perform a mitzvah, you can't do the mitzvah together with an avera. It's like stealing from the king and then trying to pretend you're giving him a gift. And that is the idea of mitzvah habo b'avera. So there's a very well-known Gemara Brochas Amid Beis, which is also a Sif in Shulchan Aruch, a Mekuf Chov Ches. Kol kohen shoreges hanefesh lo yisu eskapav shenei miyadechem domim mela'u. And Tosfos, Yavom Dav Zayin Amud Aleph. It's not in the Gemara, but Tosfos says it's the same idea. Kohen shoreges hanefesh lo yisu eskapav lefi shorga biyadoi. Because Birchas Kahanim involves the hands of the Koyanim, and that is Nesias Kapayim. For some reason, which is beyond our understanding, but the methodology of Nesias Kapayim and Birchas Kahanim, when the Kahanim bestow the brachas of a Kodesh Baruch Hu on Klal Yisrael, they need to raise their hands, and that is Nesias Kapayim. And the Novi says, "Ufavrischem kapeichem," and kohen shoreges hanefesh. Usually, whatever you do in this world, when you kill, you either use a knife or a gun or whatever it is. It's your hands. Ein katega nasa sanega. So the very earliest source, and the Ara Rabbanan says that is mina Torah, is kohen gadol lefnai v'lefneim. He goes bebig deloven and not bebig dezav. Source number 2. Chronological order, and also in Chashivas is the Mishnah. It's actually the Gemara. Rav Chisda is mefarish the Mishnah. Why can't we blow a shofar of Porah? Ein ketega nasa sanega. The Yerushalmi, Masechet Sukkah, that's number 3. From Bavli we go over to Yerushalmi, Mitzvah bo b'avera, Lulav Agazol, Ein ketega nasa sanega. Source number 4. Is it Tosfos? Tosfos explains, Kohen shoreges hanefesh, lo yisur kapav, ein kaptego nasa sanega. The Ramban is Shabbos Pei Zayin. Shabbos Pei Zayin is the central sugya in Kol HaShas about Kabbalah HaTorah, Ma'amid Har Sinai, and also Shviras HaLuchos. And the Gemara says, Shviras HaLuchos is one of the 3 things Moshe osa medatoi, so Moshe Rabbeinu on his own decided to shatter the luchos, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed. So towards the end of today's shiur, I want to share with you a thought about Shviras HaLuchos. And the Ramban discusses Shviras HaLuchos, Echos HaMedatoi, he dashed in the Kal V'chomer. Korban Pesach is only one mitzvah. Kol B'nei Chol HaYochel Boi. And Mumar can't eat Korban Pesach. Kal v'choyma kol haTorah kulo. If they're oved avodah zorah, they did an egel, how could I give them the Torah? And then the Ramban asks, so why do Chazal say Moshe osa medat? Or Kal v'choyma is one of the Yud Gimel Midrash Torah Nidreshes B'hem. That is not on his own. And then the Ramban asks, how do we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed? So Chazal say, Asher Shobarata. And Chazal interpret Asher, Malashon Ishur, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed. But the Ramban says, the word Asher is 1,000 times in Torah's Moshe, and not always do we interpret it as an agreement. So the Ramban says, V'samtom ba'oroin, Luchos v'shivre luchos menochem ba'oroin. And where is that oroin? In Kodesh HaKodeshim. So if not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed to Shviras HaLuchos, why would the Shivrei Luchos be in Kodesh HaKodeshim? Ein kategar nasa sanega. And therefore, that proves that Shviras HaLuchos was a positive deed, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed to it. Otherwise, Shivrei Luchos wouldn't be together with the Luchos HaShniers in Kodesh HaKodeshim. So this is an extension of Ein Ketega Nasas Nega, because the Gemara Lahedya, in the very first source, in Rosh Hashanah Chavav, the Gemara asks, if the Kohen Gadol can't go into Kodesh HaKodeshim b'big day Zohav Ein Ketega Nasas Nega, so what about the Oran and the Kapayras? Is Zohav And the Gemara says, no, the Oren Kaporis doesn't involve avoido. And Enketegen Asas Nega is only avoido. So how does the Ramban say, Shivre Luchas are in Kodesh HaKodeshim, Enketegen Asas Nega? So it definitely doesn't mean Ikar Din Enketegen Asas Nega. It's more of a hergish. If the Shivre Luchas would be a negative deed, if Shviras Luchas would be somewhat an Aveira, then it wouldn't have been together with the Luchas and Aroin Abris and Kodesh HaKodeshim. So the Ramban uses Ein Ketegen Asas Nega, not Me'ikar Hadin, but more as a hergish, emphasizing a svara, that if not HaKodesh Baruch Hu Iskem Al Yodoi, we wouldn't have the Shivra Luchos in Kodesh HaKodeshim. So the other sources, or some of the sources we have in our sheet, are from later Poiskim and later Achroinim and Chidushim Gedolim. Shulchan Aruch and Dinei Avodas Kechovim, Yoredei Kuf Lamed says, Lo Yichtav Yisrael al Sifrei Oivdei Kechovim, Elem Ken Mochton Shelo Yirishu Monikar. Once upon a time, before man manufactured paper, all Svarim were written on cloth. And cloth was extremely expensive. And that was before the printing press. And so the Rishonim say, you can't take Sifrei Oivdei Kechovim and erase the Ksav and use that same parchment to write Sefer Torah or Sifrei Kodesh. Lo yichtav Yisrael al Sifrei Oivdei Kechovim elem ken mochkem shelo yirishim monika v'yesh mi shoyma de'afil ocha lo yichtav olav divrei tfilos v'tachnunim en ketegen asas nega. Yesh oimrim, we differentiate between divrei Torah and tfilos v'tachnunim. Divrei Torah to learn, yes, but not tfilos v'tachnunim. And why? Is there more kedusha in tfilos than in divrei Torah? No. But tfilos are rachamim, ein ketegen asas nega. Torah is a mitzvah, the greatest mitzvah. Talmud Torah keneged kulam. So do you know who was the one that wasn't mevatel Talmud Torah for davening? There was a great gadol, when he was in middle learning, even Zman Tefillah came, he did not daven Tefillah B'zmana because he was in the middle of learning. Who remembers? Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. And where's that story told? In Masechet Shabbos Daf Tet, and also in Yerushalmi and Brochus. And Rabbi Yochanan says that is only Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Terosah Menosai. We are mechuyev to stop learning for davening. But Talmud Torah is a greater mitzvah than Tefillah. But it is only by Tefillah v'tachnunim that we say in Katego Nasa Sanega. Because Tefillahs boim lechaper oven lafoch din lerachamim. We plead with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, he should give us, fulfill our bekoshes. So you could use the parchment of Sifrei Avodah Kechovim, the Talmud Torah, but not the Tefillah, because ein katego nasa sanega. So the Moshe has an interesting shaila. Sidurei Tefillah shenitpasi b'Shabbos v'Yom Tov. So Sidurim, but you know that the printer worked on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Could you still daven in those Sidurim? So this is a lengthy halachic discussion of Maaseh Shabbos. Could you have benefit from Chilul Shabbos? But beyond the discussion, the halachic discussion of Maaseh Shabbos, Reb Moshe also writes, Mishim she'osa ketege shelo teskabel atfilah, yesh lilmod mezeh lekol chet she'osa b'shas atfilah sheketege shelo teskabel ein atfilah. Let's have a look at the last paragraph. Gam b'mispalal metoich sedurim shenasa b'maveri kshiodea mispalal mezeh yesh tam god lo imer she'ein tefillah klal. If you're already davened, ein choyse b'mispalal. We wouldn't go that far. But Reb Moshe is done, ein ketegen asas negel. So, in chronological order, we started with the Gemara that learns from Min HaTorah Ein ketegen asas nega, and that is kohen godel lefnai v'lefnim bebig delavon. So from Chumash, we went to the Mishnah, to Bavli, to Yerushalmi, to Tosfos, and now we're up to Reb Moshe Feinstein in Igros Moshe. We go a bit backwards, source 11. Yesh kosvu shenagu lilbish begodim levenim, and that's Yom Kippur. Yesh makoy mishenogim sheloi lilbosh zov, metam lo yavoy ketege v'nasa senega. And that is a minig, Yom Kippur, you don't wear any gold things. So if you have a gold watch, and you wear that gold watch, Shabbos and Yom Tov, l'kavod Shabbos or l'kavod Yom Tov, Yom Kippur you shouldn't be wearing it. So this is definitely, all these are harchoves and minhagim, not me'ikar adin. Because your watch is not a shofar. Your watch is just a watch. It's just a kli, but it's Yom Kippur. So yesh noyagim, Yom Kippur, you don't wear anything that is gold. You can have it in your house, but not in shul, not when you daven. Because so very few people have golden things that they wear, men. Some people have cufflinks, golden or golden watches. We would be surprised some people that come to shul have rings and necklaces, even though it's not minhag avoseinu. So, Rebbe Akiva Eiger says, Yesh makoy mishanoyagim, Yom Kippur you shouldn't wear anything gold. Ubenoshim loy shayach, du loy nasnu zov le'egel, v'chein leviim. So if you see a person with a golden necklace, Yom Kippur, before making any comment, you need to ask him, are you a Kohen or a Levi or a Yisrael? If you're a Levi, then it's okay. Because the Leviim didn't participate in Chet U'Egel. So for them, it's not Ketega, Nasis and Egel. Same goes for women. So we're only dealing with Minhagim. Because Al Pi Halacha, there's no difference. So women are potter from Tkiyah Shofar. But Rebbe Akiva Eiger, Siman Aleph in the Meftech, is Shuvas Rebbe Akiva Eiger says, Kiblu alai choiva. So if a person's blowing shofar for a woman, could he use a keren shel pora? Because a keren shel pora ain't ketegen as a sneger, it's Chet U'Egel. But women didn't participate in Chet U'Egel. So would we say that a woman could be yotzeh from a keren shel pora? Of course not. We don't differentiate between men and women. If it's a ketegen, ain't ketegen as a sneger for anyone. So why wearing gold there would be a difference? So once again, this is just a minhag. And minhagim are minhagim. It's not the same principles as ikar hadin. Sefer Chasidim brings us back to the tshuva of Reb Moshe and Shulchan Aruch. Could you write tefillas v'tachnunim on parchment that originally was sifrei oivdei kechavim? Shulchan Aruch says Torah, yes, but not tefillas. And Reb Moshe deals with Sidurim that were printed on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Sefer Hasidim. Echod hoyo roga le'espalal bekilo shoysim yechedes loy b'tahara v'hoyo nana. Achazman hoyo mespalal v'lo nana. V'hoyo mis'ana v'lo hoyel. This is an interesting story. Person at Tzaddik used to daven and all his tefillas were fulfilled. And one day, he got a new siddur, a beautiful siddur, and everything changed. He davens and none of his tefillas are fulfilled. And he didn't understand what happened. Shoal HaChocham. Omer lo mispalel u'meschananatu b'sefer shel Rosh HaKosvoi. Omer lo, ani natati lichtev leploini hasofer, v'secharti oise lichtev al klaf sheli yofa. I brought the most expensive and beautiful klaf, and I hired a choshev hasofer. Heishev lo yachochem, kishoyu koisev lacho, hoya liboy moleitino v'avla, v'ein ketegen asas anega. V'chein ein ra'ui sheyashom alacho, boi chatu mispalal boi. So the chochem, I don't know whether he was a Navi. Chacham Odef Menovi. And he said that person, he might have appeared to be a big tzaddik, but when he wrote the Siddur, Hoyaliboy Molei Avelo Vetino, I think that probably means Ben Odom Lechaveiroi, I don't know, Tina Almi or Avel V'mi. And that is why your tefillas are not niskabel, because ein ketega ma'aseh nege. V'chein mi shemochek sefer posel v'kosa boy mispala boy, afil lechot rechatichas lahenes b'mene ein re'ui, ki re'uim lisorf. So anyway, so we have three different scenarios, and all three deal with sidurim and kabbalas atfilah. The earliest source is the Shulchan Aruch, Klaf, that was Mishamish L'Sifra Avodas Kechovim, even though it was totally erased, V'ein Rishumoy Nikar, and you are allowed to write Divrei Torah on that Klaf, but not Filas V'Tachnunim, because Ein Ketega Nasa Sanega. Sefer Hasidim is a bigger Chiddush, because it's not about the Chefetz, it's about the Sefer. And because the Sefer B'Shasha Kosav had bad machshavas, that's why your tefillas aren't niskabel. And that's amazing. You know, we do our best. And usually people are makbid, not only to have a sefer that writes a beautiful ksav, but we try to have an erlich a sefer, a good Jew. And this Sefer Hasidim stresses the importance of having a good sefer. But the question is, would this be a kpeda by a sefer Torah and tefillin and mezuzahs, or only by a siddur? L'chayra Sefer Torah wouldn't be different than Divrei Torah. And the Shulchan Aruch says you could write Divrei Torah. By Divrei Torah we don't say Ketega Nasa Sanegar. So why? So the Sefer Hasidim deals with a siddur, with kabbalas atfilah, and that's the same as the Shulchan Aruch. But maybe it wouldn't apply to a Sefer Torah or tefillin and mezuzahs. However, the minig is we do try to have an erlich sefer, and not only a beautiful ksav. And Reb Moshe is chiddush number 3. If a siddur was printed involving Chilul Shabbos, once again we would say ein ketega nasa sanega. So I know that kiddushin is in the curriculum of the yeshiva. What masechta are we learning now? I don't even know. Marcus. I think I asked her a week ago. So in Kiddushin Daf Hey, Chazal used the same expression, Ein Ketega Nasas Neger, in a totally different area, and it's only B'derech Moshel. The Gemara asks, Kesef Machnes, Kesef Moitzi, and the Gemara says it's impossible that the same thing that makes Kiddushin would annul Kiddushin, because Ein Ketega Nasas Neger. So all the halachic sources regarding En Ketega Nasas Neger actually deal with Beinodum Lemokoim, and primarily with Kaporas Avoin. Big Dazov, when the Kohen Gadol Nechnes Lefnai V'Refnim Lechaper Eloam, Shofar, which brings forth Kapora and Mechilas Slicha V'Kodesh Baruch Hu, Tfilos, and all the other sources. So the Gemara in Kiddushin has nothing to do with Ben Adam L'Makoim. It has to do with halachic concepts of Kiddushin and Gerushin, of issues and bitul issues. But the Gemara B'derech Moshel brings the same lashon and the same concept. It is impossible that the same idea would affect Dovav Yipuchoi. Doesn't go together. Either it creates issues or it breaks issues. So I think this is a fascinating discussion of a concept which is Min HaTorah, and it's a halacha that we find in Mishnah and in Gemara, and how it developed throughout the ages, and in many different directions, and in many different halachas, and that we find in Rishonim and in Achronim. So I want to share with you a thought, first of all, about Shviras Haluchos, and that is the Ramban and Shabbos Pei Zayin. If not HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed to Shviras Haluchos, then Shivrei Luchas wouldn't be B'Kodesh HaKodesh Amen Ketege Nazas Nege. And we explained, even though the real concept of Ein Ketege Nazas Nege doesn't apply to the Luchos, and it doesn't apply to the Oren V'Kapodes, because the Oren Kapodes were Zav. And the very most important source, Ein Ketege Nazas Nege, is Big Day Zav V'Lifnai V'Lifnim. And the Gemara says it doesn't apply to the Oren, so it also wouldn't apply to the Luchos. But the Ramban just uses it as Bederech Moshel. If Shivrei Aloches would be bad, they wouldn't be in Kodesh HaKodeshim. The very last posuk in Torah's Moshe, L'chol HaYod HaChazaka, L'chol HaMoira Gol HaShos HaMoshe L'Yenei Kol Yisrael, Rashi writes, Zeh Shviras Haluchos. And in Minchas Osher, I ask a question. Tosfos at the end of Masechet Niddah writes that the siyum of Shas is with a Dover Toiv, because that is also what we find in Aviyah Marashoinim and in Aviyah Machroinim. Even though the Novi is filled with Musar and Techocha, but the end of the Sefer is always a Dover Toiv. And we find that in the Mishnah and in the Gemara. So how come Torah's Moshe, Torah's Hashem Tamimo ends with a Dover Ra, not with a Dover Toiv, with Shviras Haluchos? And I say, nothing proves the greatness of Klal Yisrael more than Shviras Haluchos. Moshe Rabbeinu comes down from Har Sinai and he sees this unfolding tragedy. Ele Elohechu Yisrael, Chetu Egel. And Moshe Shovras Haluchos Medatoi. So he shatters the Luchos. Does that seem right? What is a postman supposed to do when there's a wrong address on a letter? Does he tear up that letter and throw it into the trash can? That's a crime. You don't find the address, back to the sender. Maybe there's a $10,000 check there. You don't know what's in the letter. Back to sender. So it's clear to Moshe Rabbeinu, I can't give Klal Yisrael Luchos. So, back to sender. Give it back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who gave you permission to break the Luchos? Are they yours? You're a messenger. You're a postman. So, what happens if the recipient doesn't want to take this letter? So, if it's from the IRS, sometimes the recipient would say, I don't want this. So you give it back. Who gave you permission to break the Luchos? Especially, Chazal say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the rounds. He offered Esav, he offered Yishmael. Esav didn't like Loisersach, Yishmael doesn't like Loisinav. So when you go to an auction and nobody offers the price you expected to get, you lower the price and you make another round. You lower the price. So maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu will decide he's going to offer it to Esav without Loisersach. Or maybe he's going to offer Yishmael without Loisinav. Who gave you permission to break the Luchos? Moshe Rabbeinu wants to prove till the end of days, it's either them or no one. There's no one else out there. No one. So the Gemara says, at the beginning of Masechet Avodah Zarah, Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu offers the Luchos L'umas Oilam. No. That was just, they shouldn't have any tinus in the end of days. But the very first Rashi in Torah, Bereishis Boro, Bishvil Torah Shenikreishis, Bishvil Yisrael Shenikreishis. So the last posuk brings us back to the first posuk. The last posuk in Torah is Moshe Shviras Haluchos. Moshe Rabbeinu wants to prove to the entire world, till the end of days, it's either them or no one. There's no one else out there. Torah is for Yisrael, Yisrael is for Torah, and the world was created Bishvil Torah Shenikreishis or Bishvil Yisrael Shenikreishis. It's either them or no one. And that is why Shviras Haluchos is so important and so great. And that is why Iskim HaKadosh Baruch Hu al Yodoi. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Yasher koyach sheshuvarto. These are my beloved children, and there's no one else. Yisrael afar pishachot Yisrael. They will do tshuva. They will come back. You're right. You couldn't give them the lochas right now, but there's no one else out there. So if it's not them, it's no one. And that is the last posuk in Torah Moshe, which is a dover toiv. And that explains the Ramban. Shivra luchas are together with the luchas in Kodesh HaKodeshim. In Kodesh HaKodeshim, because the Shivra luchas proves that Yisrael, whatever they do, and wherever they stand, are always Klal Yisrael, and there's no one else out there. So Dafka, when we need Kapora, the Shivra luchas are a testament to the bris between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. And Moshe Rabbeinu, when he broke the luchos, when he shattered the luchos, had this in mind, to prove l'kol olam kuloi, l'kol adoros kulam, that it is only Yisrael. And the last posuk in Torah brings us back to the first posuk in Torah, Bereishis Boro Rakim, B'shvil Torah shenikro Reishis, u'b'shvil Yisrael shenikro Reishis. Tove'em v'tikaneach tzoyes bena. And that is Pora Aduma. So you ask, isn't that a contradiction to Enketegen Asas Anega? Pora Aduma is on one hand, the Gemara says, Chatos Kariya Rachmona. But it's not really a korban, because no part of the Pora goes to the Mizbeach. So Pora Aduma is Tahara, it's not kapora, and therefore the idea of enketeg and asas nega doesn't apply, because it's not a korban, and einoy bora chaper elo letaher, and that's taras tumas meis. That's all the pora is about. So the haloch of enketeg and asas nega doesn't apply, and to the contrary, tovei v'tekaneach tzoyas benam. So today we discussed a very interesting topic, and I tried to explain the way I understand Yasher Koyach Sheshavarta and the godless of Moshe Rabbeinu b'Shviras HaLuchos. One additional short thought. In this week's parsha we learn about Chet Mei Meriva, and all the Rishonim struggled to understand what was the Aveira of Mei Meriva. Rashi writes, V'dibartem al hasela, and Moshe hit the rock instead of talking to the rock. And Rashi says, if Moshe would have talked to the rock and the rock would give water, Klal Yisrael would be inspired, and they would say, this rock, we, Kal V'chomer. When he hit the rock, we lost that. And the Ramban says, why did we lose anything? I mean, b'derech hateva, what's the difference whether you talk to a rock or you hit a rock? It's the same nace. So the Ramban rejects Rashi. The way I would understand Rashi is, it's not about miracles. Dora Midbar had no espalas for miracles. They lived with miracles. They had miracles all the time. Every day they had man min hashamayim. They had slav min hashamayim. Be'er shel Miriam went with them. Anana Yaakov, they were enveloped in miracles, not about the miracle. Talking to the rock was a musar shmus. It was a shear in musar. So when you hit the rock, you're losing that. Why are we losing? So Kodesh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, Kachas amato v'divartu al hasela. If all he has to do is talk to the rock, why does he need a stick? Tagim Yonason ben Uziel, there's a gewaldige chiddush. Tagim Yonason says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, you talk to the rock, but I don't promise you that the rock will give water. You try, talk. And if he doesn't give water, then hit him with your stick. And that is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, Kachas amato. You might need to use it. Maybe not, but maybe yes. You talk to the rock. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm not sure the rock will give water. If he doesn't, then you hit him. And that's the lesson for Klal Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to hit you. He doesn't want to hurt you. The entire idea was Klal Yisrael should see Moshe with that big stick, and talking to the rock and not using this stick. And that's what Klal Yisrael is supposed to learn. Listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu before he hits you, because he could hurt you. And he could hurt you a lot. So, look at the rock. He saw that big stick, and he gave water without being hit, and you should do the same. And that is what we lost when Moshe Rabbeinu didn't give the rock the opportunity, and he hit him without talking to him. So that message was lost. That is the way I would understand Rashi from the Kash of the Ramban. The Malbim, does anybody know who was the Malbim? A Rishon or an Achron? I didn't mean to ask you. You're just a photographer. Ari is a Choshev Talmud Chochem. So the Malbim was one of the greatest Bekiyim in Tanakh. He wrote a sefer Halacha and Shulchan Aruch Chaim Aretz Chaim, but his most monumental work is Malbim on Tanakh. And he was also an extremely intelligent individual and a worldly one. And he has an amazing thought. So Moshe Rabbeinu hits the rock. Wouldn't that be the most natural thing? Because he had the same story some time ago in Parshas B'Shalach. They didn't have water, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Kachas amatcha asher biyadecha v'okiso betzur. So he hit the rock first time around. Why wouldn't he do it again? The Malbim says there's a difference between a tzur and a sela. Tzur chalamish, that's granite. That's a very hard rock. And in granite there is never water. Sela is limestone, avnei gir. And the Malbim proves from other psukim in Tanakh. Limestone usually has water. And sometimes if you break through the surface of the limestone, you will find water. So in Parshas B'Shalach, it was the tzur. Regarding tzur, you might as well hit the rock, you might as well talk to the rock, but derech hatev, it's all futile, it's all ridiculous. And that is why Kodesh Baruch Hu tells them, v'hokiso betzur. But this is a sela, this is limestone. And in Klal Yisrael, there might be some chachmalogim that would say, Moshe was a geologist, and he figured out exactly where to break through the rock and find water. And maybe that was b'derech hateva. And that is another teretz on the Kash of the Ramban. Yes, there's a difference between the tzur in Parshas B'Shalach and the sela in Parshas Chukas. So my pshat is this. Ibn Ezra has an interesting comment. Which stick was HaKadosh Baruch Hu supposed to take when he talks to the rock? In Parshas B'Shalach, Kachas amatcha asher biyodcha. But in Parshas Chukas, Kachas amata. Which one? Vayikach Moshe amata asher lefnei Hashem. Which mata was lefnei Hashem? That's Aaron's mata. And last week's Parsha, Moshe put Aaron's mata ba'oyel moyed together with the other matas of the Nesiim. V'yetzitzitz, perach, shkeidim. That is the mata shelefnei Hashem. There's a difference between mata Moshe and mata Aaron. Mata Moshe was a stick that was used to hit. It hit Afar Eretz Mitzrayim and hit the Yair. It brought 10 plagues on Eretz Mitzrayim. Mata Aharon doesn't hit, doesn't hurt. B'sholem v'b'mishor. Oyev shulam, roidev shulam, oyev esabriyesu makav anatayra. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu expects Moshe Rabbeinu to understand that if I told you to take Aaron's mata, that was not to hit the rock. That was to talk to the rock. And that was the chet of Mei Merivo. Yeh Asher Yehia, different interpretations of the chet of Mei Merivo, and that is why Moshe and didn't have the schus to bring Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael, and they both had to stay in Chutz La'aretz. And the Riyah Kodesh and other Svarim explain, if not for chet Mei Merivo, and Moshe and Aaron would bring Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael, history would be an entirely different story. We would be Zerchet to the Geula Shalema and to Tikkun Olam thousands of years ago, but it was not to be. Everything is min hashamayim. So Eretz Yisrael niknes b'Yisurim. And it's an ongoing story. This week, once again, 4 Tairid were murdered. Eretz Yisrael niknes b'Yisurim. And we daven every day to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Misha Omar Lo Elam Oidai, Yomer Etzorosenu Dai. And it should be enough already, and we should only be Zoicha to Simcha and Nachas be'eretz Kodshenu. So Baruch Hashem, we have the schus to learn Torah in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, and Eretz Yisrael, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu again, v'yeshmor v'yatzil, we should only hear B'Seiris Toivos, and we should be Zoicha B'Korav to Yeshua Seilomim, B'Mheiro v'Yomeinu Amen. Good Shabbos.